hello, everyone. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. So, today, this is different. Different because we have got a very special guest, and we're going to be talking about a subject that is not something I do talk about, even though it's something I really want to venture into, and that is talking about Islam. Islam is the fastest growing religion. Don't ask me why, but apparently, Islam is the fastest growing religion. And I'm hoping that our guest would be able to help us out and tell us why this is the case. So, my dear friend Khalid, we've met through my local atheist group. So, us atheists, we need community, So yeah, we met through our, and he can tell you all about that. But yes, we are the atheists that we not only talk atheists, we live atheists. We are atheists. We we breathe atheists. We drink atheism. Oh, but let me tell you, my guest, he is awesome, absolutely awesome, and I hope that you will enjoy you will enjoy just listening to him and interacting with him. You will also have a chance to ask him questions if you want. But yeah, before we start, hello, Khalitha. Long time no see. I've missed you. Have you been? Dean Kruger says, Khalid is an amazing guest to have on. I had the privilege of interviewing him as well. More power to you. Dean, how come you always get to the good people before me? Dean, like, he just goes out there. He's like a fisherman. He's just, come on, Dean. Dean has got the best interviews with atheists. My goodness, Dean. Wow. Okay, hey Kiko Lansing, how are you? Good to see you. Randall, hey Randall, long time no see. Get walk, hello. Good to see you too. Yeah, support to you, Khalid. Okay, guys, get yourselves ready. Get a drink, get a snack, get food, whatever you need to enjoy this conversation. It's going to be one journey that you trust me, just get yourselves ready. Okay, now drum roll. Where is our guest? Hello, Khalid.
Hello, Esther. Thank you for.
I'm sure. Go on.
I was just going to say thank you for your kind words and thanks for inviting me. And I hope your followers enjoy the episode.
Yes, I hope so too. Hold on, I think I've got some there's some, what do you call them now? There's some um like cheering and here we
Emoji.
go. Let's see. No, that's the one. I thought I had the clapping. Sorry, that's too noisy. Let's see this one. That's not the one I want. No. Oh well, never mind. That's not the one. I thought I had the hand clapping sound effect, but never mind. No, don't worry about that. Well, you're welcome, Khalid.
Thank you.
Are you looking very, very handsome this evening?
Oh, thank you very much. I'm flattered. Thank you.
Is that my internet? It looks
Yeah,
like it's my internet.
yeah.
That was me. But never
Okay.
mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, Khalid, do you want to tell us about yourself?
Sure. Thanks for your followers who just commented, Gerwalk and Dean. Of course, I've really
Yes.
enjoyed the interview with him and also the lady before Dean. I cannot recall the name. Thank you very much for your warm welcome to me. Before I start, I was wondering if I can just say a couple of words for a member of my family who is very dear to me, and I actually have not seen them for a long time, and they probably don't know much about me because I also have come out as an atheist fairly recently after or during the Gaza's war. So I want to dedicate this to them. Maybe they can get to know the true person behind the name and
Mm.
connect with them that way. And I wish them good Christmas if they are religious, and I wish them all the best in the new year. Um, yeah, I was born in Egypt in 1972 to a middle class Muslim family, and lived pretty much a regular um, Muslim life. Um, Egypt has seen some changes over the years, especially in between the 70s and 80s. It was a lot more liberal in the 70s. Comes the 80s, due to some investments by Saudi Arabia. They harvested the Muslim Brotherhood, and they invested a lot of money into radicalizing the Middle East through a movement called Wahhabi. And the tree started to be fruitful on the in the 80s. So the country was um, liberal in the 70s, and I've seen this. There was no almost no hijab in the streets. In the 80s, we started to see the rise of radical Islam. Um, I was a lot into my religion. I loved this. I loved my God. I loved my Prophet. And in the university, I start to get involved a bit in the university's life, and started to become less devout than when I was at school. And then during university, I met someone through a mutual friend, and he became a good friend of mine. And um, one day we were talking, and then he mentioned that he was an atheist, and of course this word was very alien to me that time. I'd only heard about one person that was atheist in Egypt, and that was a big writer, big star. He had a television documentary, and he was talking about science and connects that to verses of the Quran or a speech, a holy speech by Prophet Muhammad. So, and he all what he wrote was why he not why he became an atheist, is why he reconverted to Islam after he was an atheist. So it was all a biased environment, really. So you would I that time I was reading maybe novels or science books, and religious books, and I was quite religious as well. I used to give lessons in the mosque, and I loved singing and music. So I used to do some calling for prayers, reading the Quran in the school line, all these wonderful things. In the university, I met my friend who said that he was an atheist, and I stopped talking to him for a couple of years. And I started to look for uh, books to confirm, to reassure me of my religion, so that I can, because it was a bit of a terrifying moment when I met him, and when I saw him, and or when he told me that he was an atheist. And then that started the journey. Then that time there was no internet, so I was relying on books. But when I came to England, the internet started to be a thing, and I was on a program called Pal Talk, and there was some Coptic Egyptians who are the Orthodox Egyptians. They are called Coptics, and one priest in particular has had done a lot of work to um, read the books, the original books. And I started listening to him. So, and then I started asking my dad to send me books because I was in the UK, and it's very hard to get hold of Arabic books here. So my dad used to send me the books, and I used to read it. And it took me about 10 years until I became fully atheist. From the time I met my friend to the time I became fully atheist. So that's a um, brief story about me.
So you were really devoted and really, into your religion to the point of meeting someone who's atheist and cutting ties with that person because they were an atheist, right?
Oh yeah, even when he wasn't with me, he was more clever than me. He was a graduate engineer. I was only
Wow,
in studying accountancy. I wasn't as clever as him. He's very clever, very well spoken, very intelligent. Of course, I know him until now. He's just sent me a text saying hello. So we are the best. We are best friends now.
I'm glad
We
to
can't
hear
live
that.
without each other. So,
I'm glad to
but
hear
when I
that.
went back to university and told my friends who were Muslims, because I was looking for support, and they said
Mm.
that guy needs to die. We need to kill him.
No.
Yeah, I got terrified because I'm not violent, so I didn't care whether they kill him or not, but I didn't want to get involved in a crime, and I said I don't know his address, I don't know his telephone number, nothing. I've just deleted it. I've deleted everything from I don't know. But at that point, I thought he deserves to die really,
Oh
because
my
you have to
goodness.
realize that, and this is why I do not really I do not attack Muslims because I was one. So I know exactly. I
Mm.
know that the moderate Muslim will condemn
Yeah.
acts of violence, but that's just because of ignorance, because they haven't read well. If you read the books well, you
Mm-hmm.
either become an atheist or you become a terrorist. There's no, and the terrorist. I'm saying terrorist, but it's because a terrorist really thinks he's righteous. They don't think they are terrorists.
Mm.
And that was the mentality that I was in, because you don't know when you're young and you full of energy. You don't really know a gray area, Esther. You
Yes.
kind of either black or white. And if God created you and he asks you to do 1 2 3, then you do 1 2 3. Otherwise you get confused. Why wouldn't I do that? So but that idea was crazy, but we didn't follow it through. So
Okay,
I saved
so
his life.
you just hearing that makes me just it just raises the awareness that this religion is it's one of those that when they take their faith very seriously.
Oh yeah,
They take
definitely.
the books very serious. They don't mess about with the text.
Yeah,
I've been
apart from
reading
the
the
moderate
Quran.
Muslims, really, moderate Muslims don't know much,
Oh
and
yeah.
they are very good people. But those who read well and become radicalized, there's a big danger of them losing um, the way. So yeah,
So so growing up in Egypt, was it very religious and very was it such a that everyone adopted the religion, or was it a secular place where
so
you grew up
as I
in?
said, in up till the 70s, it was well, the law in Egypt is secular, but it's strange because it's meant to be a secular society, or a secular constitution. However, in the constitution it says that the law is um, the Sharia law is the umbrella kind of
Hmm, hmm.
um, law. So if, for example, if someone kills someone, they're gonna be executed. The because Islam says that we can't adopt a law like Europe, for example,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because of Sharia law. So, for
Secular
example,
law.
all the inheritance law and
Yeah.
all that is got covered by Sharia law, but it's not as like strict as in Afghanistan or Iran or Saudi Arabia, where they chop a thief's hand, and that's not
Mm.
in Egypt. So it's secular in terms of constitution. It's a mix between French law and the Sharia law. In terms of the society, as I said, in the 70s, it up to the 70s, it was quite liberal, and then the 80s, it started to get radicalized, and now uh, I think I've seen Egypt um, the most. I've seen the most radicalism in Egypt nowadays
Wow.
than ever. So yeah, hijab and niqab,
Mm-hmm.
people with beard, not like me, beard, commitment beard. Uh, yeah, it has become since the 80s.
I've been reading the Quran, just bits of it. I've been trying to familiarize myself with the Quran because I had no knowledge of the Quran at all. I don't think I ever picked up a Quran before I deconverted to right became it before I became an atheist. I don't think I ever picked up a Quran at all. And now I've got three Qurans.
That's
Right?
interesting you say that,
Yes.
because when you are in a religion, you really don't, you're definitely a confirmation biased. You don't need to look at any
Mm-hmm.
other religion. So that was the case with me. I'd never held um the holy book in my hand, the New and Old Testament.
You
I'd
mean the
never
Bible?
held the Bible, exactly.
Yes.
I'd never held it in my hand before I became an atheist. So it's the same case, because why would you? When I was a Muslim, I was always reading books to compare the two religions, and if I want to find out about Christianity, I would read these books, and I would feel
Right.
enlightened because it's biased. But you wouldn't want to read anyway. These books, if you are on the other side, in that religion, you will find the writing very silly. So I when I even because when I left Islam, I wanted to join another cult. I was lost. I was feeling lost. So I looked into Christianity, and when you read the Bible, you think it's really silly, the way it's written. That it's no, and if you are Christian, you read the Quran, you think that what's that?
Yes. Listen. Reading the Quran, it's so disjointed.
Yeah,
With the Bible, at least there's some kind of order to it. It sort of leads up from one like a beginning sort of thing, and then takes you all the way. There's a, sort of like a middle, and then there's suspense, and you get to you see the character of God in the Old Testament, all this evil and vile, and all these, but then he changes after a while, and you start to see more about love. And but when I read the Quran, I'm like, hello. There is no that sort of order. It's just like two, three people having a conversation with each other. We choose to do this. We would do that. And I'm like, okay, are they writing this for people to read? So yes, I quite understand exactly what you're talking about, because I have been reading the Quran. I have been.
it's very interesting as well. You say that because the development of the character of God in the Old
Bible.
Testament, yeah, in the Bible, the development from the Old Testament to the New Testament is the opposite of the development of the God of Islam
Hmm.
from Mecca verses to Medina. So Mecca, where Islam started, and
Hmm.
it was a weak religion then. Muhammad didn't have a lot of followers, and he stayed in Mecca 10 years, and then he immigrated to Medina, and then in Medina he became very powerful. The God of the Bible um, was very much like the new god of Islam, the Medina god of Islam, was very violent. And then I don't know who said it, Richard Dawkins or Christopher Hitchens. Somebody said after he got his son, he relaxed a bit. And the God of the Quran, the God of the Quran is the opposite. He started in Mecca, um, talking very peacefully, and he was guiding Prophet Muhammad to talk to the infidels, the idol worshippers, in a
Kuffars.
very smooth way, and all the verses are very peaceful, but they just telling them what will happen in the other life, in the day of judgment day, to scare them a bit and to entice them to want to go to heaven. And if you notice all the how the Quran entices people to go to follow Islam, so that they can go to heaven, you will see the what the Quran uses is things that were absent in that environment. So he would
Right.
talk about rivers. He would talk about rivers of honey and rivers of alcohol and rivers of water that is very tasty, and women versions, and he would talk about even like settees and sofas that way you can relax, and things that you never seen in your life and you never heard of in your life. It because they were that was a desert, and the environment was very harsh,
Mm-hmm.
and he would
Mm-hmm.
talk to them about fruit and stuff like that. um, But when Muhammad immigrated to Medina and started becoming very powerful, then we started to see the change. We started to see violence towards other religions, especially Judaism,
Jews,
and
to
especially
Jews and
Judaism.
Christians.
Christians not as much in the Muhammad's era, Prophet Muhammad's era. So I don't want to disrespect that character just because I was in the Muslim shoes before and I know how they feel. So I don't want to upset anyone. Forgive me. I will
And
keep saying
that's
Prophet Muhammad.
that's something I appreciate about you. Every time you talk about Muslims, you don't disparage. In fact, you sort of show empathy and put yourself in their shoes because you've come away from that yourself. You seem to be trying to give an explanation for why they think the way they do, why they express the way they do. It's like, do you feel like you want people to understand the mindset of a Muslim?
No, it's not my target really, Esther. My target is Muslims. At the moment, I'm talking in the UK,
Hmm.
because there are lots of wonderful people that came out in Egypt and in Saudi Arabia and in a lot of countries, and uh, they are talking about Islam. They don't need
Yes.
one more person. But I think in Europe we do need. This is why I decided to come out, because in Europe we do need to talk. If you can talk and you have the knowledge, you should you should talk, because Europe is in a bit of a danger, in my opinion. My target is
Yeah.
the Muslim person, and especially the Muslim who speaks English, was born to a Muslim family, and he doesn't speak or read Arabic, because these books you can't really you can't understand them in Arabic. So, for example, we have the Hadith, which is the holy speech by Prophet Muhammad, and then you have an explanation for that Hadith. You can't just read the Hadith and understand it. You've got to get another book to explain it. The Quran is the same. You cannot understand the language of the Quran. And the funny thing is, all these people who had a go at explaining the Quran or the Hadith, they all differ between each other. So you find that we have 4 or 5 major Quran explanations. We have many books talk about the biography of Prophet Muhammad. We have many of like hadith, holy speech writers, and they all differ. So there is
Hmm.
one verse would be interpreted four different times in four different books. So I want the person that doesn't was born to maybe a Pakistani family or an Indian family that was indoctrinated by his family, which is not his fault and it's not their fault because I was in the same place. I love my mom. I love my dad. It's not their fault. Everyone has been indoctrinated, and
Hmm.
it's everyone gives the flag to the next generation. But we've got to end that. The problem in the Middle East that's I think that stops the Middle East of improving is that kids have an answer to everything. They don't really have curiosity to understand, to want to understand why how the universe came to be what it is, how life started, because they have an answer to everything. Where in the West has been a bit luckier because after Martin Luther, they started to detach the state to the church, and therefore um, young people want to understand. If someone is wondering why the universe is the way it is, they probably go and study physics or even read a book. But in my country, for example, if I wanted to know how the universe is created, why would I read? It's just the answer is easy. God created it. What easier answer are you looking for? God created it, and how, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know, and I'm not interested in how. I just want to be a. Like, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday. I give him an analogy, but I'm not going to talk about the analogy because it's long. But I want to be like a good employer. Just get the instructions and do it. I don't want to be the bad employer that keeps asking why did the boss say that we shouldn't do that. No, I want to be a good employer. I don't care about the other one. He's going to get sacked. But then, yeah. So I don't know if my point came across that
I
in Middle East.
perfectly understood that you just were a follower.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
just
exactly.
you were a
Um,
follower and you followed to the letter,
yeah,
right? There was
and
no questions asked.
that
Just
stops me of wanting to know, the curiosity.
critical
And
thinking.
yeah, and that's why we haven't made any advancements in the science. And then some Arabic countries are very rich, but we still not making advance.
Backwards.
But
Mm,
we still
mm.
not making advance in Europe, which is my target, which is the area, that the zone that I am coming out in. It's
Mm.
different. I don't have this problem here. My problem here is that Islam, as you quite rightly said in the beginning, Islam is the fastest growing religion,
It
and
is.
we will get to that now. And the thing I'm starting to notice is that we are getting to see signs of involvement of religions in the in the culture, in the British culture, which we've left our lands to come and live in, so that I think we, instead of embracing this culture we live in, what we do is we try and bring our culture with us and
Mm.
try and change the society that we live in, and um, close our circles to the people that look like us. And then now what is happening is those circles are getting wider now, and then we are about to see a statue in 3 years time celebrating hijab
Oh
in
goodness.
in Birmingham, which is, I don't know how we got here. It must be because Muslims are growing in numbers, and they have
Hmm.
influence in the councils, in councils, and in
Yeah.
both local and central authority actually. So
So for context, some of you may not understand what that's about. So like I said to you, myself and Khalid, we are in it's like the local chapter of Atheism UK in the West Midlands of the United Kingdom. And we recently learned that one of the councils has been given money to set up a statue of a hijab, right? And so part of the group is campaigning against this. If we are a secular state, why are we having um, statues erected of the hijab? And whose idea was it? Whose money is it? Is it government money? Is it? So these are some of the things we've been engaged in, and um, I think that statue is still going ahead, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Even with the opposition, even with us saying, okay, please reconsider. A few people have written letters, they've, questioned. But I think what we are getting back is it's a cultural thing. For some people, it's about culture, it's not a religious thing. So all I would say is watch this space. How many years? In 3 years, right?
yeah,
Anything can happen. We can, because if you erect a statue of a hijab, then you should be ready to erect a statue of different pieces of everyone's religion. Don't just pick and choose now, right? You have to. If the UK is in fact a secular state, right? So we who are non-believers, what statue are we going to have?
me.
Who will erect a statue for us?
Um,
Okay.
Thanks for explaining. I want to answer the Dean's
Yes, there are two
question
questions, in
because I read
fact.
it while you were talking.
Right.
Shall I answer Dean's question first?
Yes.
So Dean is asking, why is Islam so violent? Is it the literature or the example of the Prophet? It's both, both. So it's it's the funny thing I can tell you, Dean, is that we actually not sure of any of the originality of the stories or the Quran or the this is gonna surprise some people because we're really not sure. Scientifically speaking, we're not sure when the Quran was written. There are hypotheses. Um, People think it was written in the Caliphate era, the third Caliphate. His name was Uthman, and the story is that he burnt all the versions of the Quran and left only one after creating a committee of Prophet Muhammad's friends who knew him very well to choose the verses and to make the Quran the best um, um, the best version of or the best representation of what came down from God onto Prophet Muhammad. But the writing that we see on the original texts is not actually a writing that because the style of writing doesn't tell us that or doesn't prove that it was written in that era because the earliest we've got was written in a Kufi style, and that city Kufa, um, I think it was that style was invented in Kufa maybe 150 or 200 years after Islam. So before that, before that Kufi style, there were other styles of writing, but we haven't really got any Quran or any literature from with that writing. So the hypotheses vary between scholars on which era this literature came from, but um, none of it came from. We haven't got any Islamic scholar coming from Prophet Muhammad's era or the Caliphate era or even the um, Umayyad estate that lasted about 100 years after. So we're talking about maybe 150 to 200 years. We don't have any thing written by any scholar. We don't know any scholar that even appeared in those eras. Then comes the Abbasi state. Then we started to get scholars that we know very well as Muslims, or Muslims know very well. So we don't know when these stuff were written. We're not sure. That it might be all made up. There's the hypothesis. I'm not talking from my head. That there is the hypothesis that the Abbasi state wanted to make sure that they tell that um, they have legality. They have I can't think of the word. Um, they have something to support them in controlling. It was a big state by then, because they invaded lots of other countries. So they wanted to make sure that they have some support from a religion to make them have the eligibility to control this big world that they control. So they came up with all this literature to show that because Abbasi is actually, they are part of Prophet Muhammad's family. So Abbas was his uncle. So these are um, they are all related to Prophet Muhammad. So they wanted to give some dimension to their dimension of legality and eligibility to the um, um, estate.
But Khalid, this is the words of Allah. This is the word sent down from Allah Himself. Why wouldn't Allah make this very, easy to figure things out? At least we should be able to know when. Sorry, if you hear that shouting, that's my son playing he's on his on the game. Nothing's happening in the back. Nobody's being strangled. So, um, what was I saying now? Right, these are the words of Allah.
Why would
So
it
much
be so complicated?
ambiguity.
Mm, yeah, good question. The more importantly, I want to tell you that the Quran is counted as the only miracle that Prophet Muhammad came with, which 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 is a problem, because if if I if I am from an Arabic background and I can't understand the Quran myself, and not just me, even the big scholars, the contemporary scholars can't understand it without they. If you hear a imam talking, they got to have an evidence from the literature. They can't just talk themselves. There is a bit of
Hmm.
movement,
Hmm.
which is called fatwa. You might have heard about fatwa.
Yes.
Fatwa happens when there isn't any support from the literature. Something like smoking a cigarette, for example. There was no
Hmm.
cigarettes when this literature were written. So an imam can then make a fatwa and say, no, we'll make an analogy between cigarettes and alcohol. Then we can say it's prohibited. So there is some movement, but not a lot. Um, so they have to go to the books and read the literature and then get evidence for what they say. So if I am a professor in religions in Islam, and I can't understand this myself, and I've got to have evidence and read the explanations well and know them up by heart, how would a Chinese person be expected to feel that the Quran is a miracle? Because the miracle is in the profession,
Arabic.
the profession way that God written the Quran. It's supposed to be so poetic and so beautiful and has lots of deep meanings. But that, how would you say that's a miracle if people who speak the language don't understand it, let alone a Chinese person or an English person? And when you translate this to English, it loses everything. So it's pointless. You've got to learn Arabic and be good at it.
Mm-mm.
to just
To
understand little bit of it.
I've met some Africans, right? Af- African Muslims. They've got no idea at all about the Quran, right? Because they don't speak Arabic.
Yeah,
All they have is the melodies, right?
yeah.
You hear them,
You
right?
do it
That's
very well, by the way.
they have those melodies. But when you ask them, what on earth are you see the melodies that you're singing, what does it mean? They don't have a clue. The one thing they will tell you though is go and seek a scholar.
Yeah,
And they will tell you. This is one thing I appreciate about Muslims. They will tell you, I don't know it. Go and speak to a scholar. The scholar would know, right? That's it. And they're not willing to go further than that. Whereas when you speak to Christians, oh goodness, they would try and give you their own interpretation of the text. Oh, we think that the Jesus was saying this and he was saying that. But it's funny how God chooses, right, to come down and send messages down to earth and chooses one set of people, one particular language. And correct me, I might be wrong, Khalid. Is it true that you cannot, um, it's got to stay in Arabic? You can't pray in other languages. Is it true or not?
yeah, true, true. You've got to say it in Arabic, of course.
Uh,
Yeah, I
How
know.
is this? How is this a God? How? Mm. Anyway, there was a second question for you. Let's see. Um, Walk had a question. You mentioned being lost after leaving Islam. Can you share more about your experience into being less lost or not lost at all?
So does that mean what I feel right now? The difference between can you rephrase the question for me, Esther? I
Okay, so it says you mentioned being lost after leaving Islam. Can you share more about your experiences into being
so yeah,
less
it's the now
lost
probably.
or not lost at all? If I okay, I don't know if get what can rephrase the question. So some people describe leaving religion as I lost my faith, right? Some people say
Yeah,
I lost my faith. I would say that too once upon a time. But now I don't say that because I didn't lose anything. There was
yeah,
nothing to lose, right? You don't lose a faith that you there was no faith to be had, right? You had a faith in things that were you were conditioned into believing, right? There really was nothing there. These were people's ideas, people's um things that they wanted you to take upon yourself. And so instead of saying that you lost something, right, you gained something by walking away from the religion. I don't know, this might not be at all what they're trying to say. Let's see, you might have Gewok says yes, it means do you feel less lost now? And how you made your way from feeling lost to not feeling lost right now.
thank you very much for the question. Very
It's
good
okay,
question.
Gewok.
No,
Got
no,
it.
don't worry, it was clear. It's probably me. um I don't feel lost at all now. It was
Mm,
at the time when because if you've been born as a Muslim, you are heavily indoctrinated into the teachings of Islam, and you don't see any other religion really. That's the only religion, as I mentioned before. And then all of a sudden, you you remove God and Islam and Prophet Muhammad. You you lose your identity.
hmm,
It's a bit more like Judaism in that respect. It's an identity, not just a faith. You you then start to think that you literally are going to be lost in this world. You're going to you're going to probably go and do drugs, or maybe do silly things, because you don't have an identity. You don't know who you are, and also the idea of leaning into God when you in trouble and asking for help, that's gone as well. So who am I going to ask for help if something, if I have a threat of some kind? um Also, what would I do with my family? Because that's a big problem as well. If the family knows, and I really do like my family and they like me as a Muslim, they, there's always that condition, of course, but I understand them. I don't blame them. So all this, and these ideas would crack your head basically. And then as I said, I started looking for other religions until I discovered that they're all the same. Christianity does the same thing. My You see, my problem was, I wanted to find a religion that does not deem the other wrong, and get them to hell at the end, because I thought it's not fair of God, which will bring me to the original problem that started with me when I was perhaps 8 years old or 9 years old. I was very young and I was bothered by this a lot. And I asked my dad once, and I kept arguing with my dad, and until he got fed up of me. I said, why God? How come God give us free will if he knows what we're going to end up being, because he's got absolute knowledge. So he must know that if I grow up to be a bad person, he must know, because he created me. So where's the free will, and why would he destroy me after that and deem me to?
Can you
That was,
can you tell me, is there a text in the Quran? I'm sure I've read this, where it says Allah is the one that brings people to himself. Allah is the one that he basically makes you a Muslim or non-Muslim.
yeah,
You cannot be a Muslim the without Allah bringing you in.
the guidance of Allah. It uses
Allah
that
guides
word,
you
the
into.
guidance.
Can you tell me what verse that is again? Let me
I
see.
don't know in English, but it says, "Inna Allah yahdi man yasha." It means
What number is
God
it?
guides uh, who guides whom he wants to guide. Something like that. I don't know the
Do you
exact
know what
translation.
number it is?
This is probably said many times in the Quran. I can find it for you if you
Okay,
want.
okay. That's
Let me
all
find.
right.
Do you
So I
want
can
me to
read it
find it?
in so I can read it in English. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I
Okay.
would
Why
love
not?
you to find it because I get people coming to say to me, "Oh, read the Quran." Or yeah, Quran is the way. Sorry, Islam is the way. And this and that. And I'm thinking, how is it that your book says Allah is the one who makes you Muslim? Allah is the one who guides you into the religion. If I don't believe, I don't believe because Allah hasn't guided me. You can
Yeah.
say it a million times. It's not going to make sense because maybe this is how Allah wants me to be, right?
But that's the same
28:56.
with other religions as well. I don't think that the free will and the determinism goes for every religion. And in
Mm-hmm,
Christianity, it's the
mm-hmm.
same. They say God gave us free will, but that actually contradicts his absolute knowledge. Because if he give me a free will, that means it's like I did. This is the analogy I did with John yesterday, my friend John. You know
Yes,
John. So I was
yes.
talking to John yesterday, and I said, if I create a robot, I have two options: either program him to do exactly what I want, and the other option is to program him to do what he wants, what it wants.
Mm.
In the first case, I know what that robot is going to do. So I don't think I have the right to destroy him at the end, or I have. or I can destroy him at the end, unless I'm mad, because I've done it so that it goes and washes the dishes and then comes back to me. Or I programmed him to go and steal something. So if he does that, why would I destroy him unless I'm manipulative and I just want to? The other option is to give him a free will and say, okay, you do whatever you want, but if you do something wrong, I will destroy you. In that case, okay, but I don't know what he's going to do. So that's the analogy. Does God know what we're going to do, or does God not know what we're going to do? You can't have it both ways. You can't tell me he gave us a free will, but at the same time he knows what you're going to do. Like a big scholar I asked in Egypt, one of the biggest star, and he died now. His name is Muhammad Mitwalli Sharawi, a very known figure in the Muslim world. And I met him, and I was in secondary school. I was a teenager, because that was bothering me a lot. I was stuck with some questions, like I couldn't find answer. And when I was arguing with my dad when I was a child, he said, Khaled, just leave me. He's gonna make a surprise to all of us at the end and just get us all to heaven. Okay, you happy? So because you can't answer such a question. I remember going to the mosque as well once, when I was a teenager, and I asked the imam. I said, "Where does that word Muhammad come from?" Because
Mm,
we've heard names repeated in other, like there is a couple of people called Omar. There is a couple of people called Amr that we've heard, but we never heard of anybody called Muhammad apart from the Prophet Muhammad. Was he was he was he named by God? Did Because his mother was not a Muslim and his dad was not a Muslim. In fact, the books say that his mom was 4 years pregnant in him, so she stayed. So nobody. Um, yeah, I'm sorry if
sorry.
that's upsetting anyone, but that's
Hold on.
what the literature
Did,
says.
did you say she was pregnant for 4 years with
Yeah,
him?
yeah. But that was the thought before. It was quite a normal thing to think before science made advance. They thought that, and that's what the literature said. I'm sorry,
That it
it's
was
in the literature.
possible to it was possible to be pregnant for 4 years. I,
No, it wasn't possible to be pregnant for 4 years.
no,
It was possible to think that you
they
can be
thought
pregnant for. Yeah,
yeah,
they did think
they
that.
thought that. Can
Yeah.
I just quickly read that text? And it's 28:56. Thank you, Dean. It says, Indeed, O Muhammad, indeed, O Muhammad, you do not guide whom you like, but Allah guides whom He wills, and He is most knowing of the rightly guided. So it's not Muhammad who guides who he likes, no, but it is Allah who guides who he wills, and He is most knowing of the rightly guided. So Allah guides people. Allah is the one that brings you to Himself. He guides whom He wills. So basically, this is predetermination, right? This is Allah knows who's going to heaven. I asked a Muslim once, um, are you guaranteed Jannah? Are you guaranteed a spot in Jannah? And he said he doesn't know. I asked him, am I guaranteed a spot in Jahannam? He said he doesn't know. I said, hang on a second. I thought you're a Muslim. I thought your religion, you should be sure that you. He said, well, uh, Allah knows whether I would make it to Jannah or He would. That if there is so much just lack of knowing, then why are you a Muslim? Why does it make sense to be a Muslim when you are not even guaranteed a spot in heaven? Allah is the one that knows who. He did not make sense to me at all. That didn't make sense to me. So every Muslim, as they're doing their thing, praying 5 times a day, they're still not guaranteed a place in Jannah. How does that make sense?
No, what he said was not correct. According to the Islamic teachings, is that every Muslim, as long as he avoided the big sins,
Mm-hmm.
and on top of that is worshipping something else than Allah or with Allah. If you avoid those big sins, you're going to be tortured in hell. And they all, it actually says that in the book, that they all going to pass that stage. Everybody will at some point go to hell in the beginning. But if you're a Muslim and you're a believer, you're going to end up in heaven. So you get tortured a bit for your sins, and maybe some forgiveness and compassionate from God, and then you can just go to heaven straight away. But most people will go to hell first for a period of time and then go to heaven. In terms of you as an atheist, and me and Christians, and all other religions, they are going to be, they, yeah, guaranteed a seat in hell,
Wait,
with
no,
Richard Dawkins and
Khalid,
Christopher
no,
Hitchens.
no, no. So even the Muslims will still go to hell for a period of time. Is this what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why?
I can get you the verses if you like. Um,
How do, just make it make sense. So if
yeah,
you're a
because you,
Muslim, you're still going to go to
yeah. So we are talking about Surah 19. It says,
Surah
"There is not one of you who shall not go down to it which is hell." Such is
19, what number?
a, so it's called Maryam, Surah Maryam,
Surah Maryam. Okay.
Maryam, which is
Mary.
Virgin Mary. Um,
Ooh.
verse, I think it's 19,
Mm-hmm.
um, and the
What
verse
number?
is, I think, 71. 71.
Okay, 1971. I was reading something in Miriam the other day, and I just, I was just flabbergasted. You know, there are things that you see in trying to, I'm not sure, I wouldn't use the word copy, but there are things that are missing in the story of Mary in the Bible, which the Quran tries to give you some, like some details, especially around how she was pregnant. The
Yeah,
the the Quran
I understand what you
tells
mean.
tells you that they blew up her.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny because it said it's talked about that in two different ways. It says, um um it's very hard to translate it, but it talks about Mary has kept her genital, um um um
What number was it you said again?
kind of kind
What
of
number?
she it's number
What?
71.
71. Okay. And there
Yeah.
is none of you except he will come to eat. This upon your Lord are inevitability decreed.
Yeah. Which is, it's
Then
very strange
ah
that
oh oh we need to read the
God
verse
compel
before it.
him, God compel himself to something, because it's I understand it in Arabic, but in English it's hard to translate it. Which, yeah, so it says everyone will pass that stage, will go down it, and this is determined by God upon himself.
So I will read from 69. It says, then we will surely extract from every sect those of them who were the worst against the most merciful in insolence. Right? We will first start by extracting the worst ones. Then surely it is we who are most knowing of those most worthy of burning their we know the people who are we who are most knowing of those most worthy of burning therein, and there is none of you except he. will come to it. This is upon your Lord and inevitability decreed. So you can't escape it.
No, because nobody can have a life without having his sins more less than his good doing. So there is like there's a scale. They talk about a
Oh, like a
scale,
balance.
like a balance,
Yeah.
and that they use that word scale. So it's in the Quran. So in the scale, they put all the sins here, and they put all the good doing or the good deeds there, and then
Hmm.
whichever way goes down, but there is hardly anyone can have more good deeds than sins. So everyone will go to hell to redeem these sins first before they go to heaven, but they will if they're
What
Muslim.
about babies?
What about, sorry?
Babies, children,
No,
babies.
babies. The narrative is they will become angels. They
Oh,
haven't sinned, so they yeah. Thank God for that. I can hear, I can hear it. Oh, thank God for that. I can hear it from you. Oh, thank
gosh.
God.
Listen, verse 72 says, then we will save those who feared Allah. So after they've gone to hell, we will then save those who feared Allah and leave the wrongdoers within it on
Yeah,
their knees. We'll leave them there.
yeah. It's terrifying because when you are a child and reading all these things, and then you hear in the radio and television and social media, and you can't, you just, you're a victim really to that.
I
And
mean, that
Islam is
that's
very elasticated religion as well. It tells you something here and it tells you another thing here. It's not very coherent,
mm,
as you said. And so as I said, with that, with the Maryam verses, how God blew, because it says we blew. So it's sometimes at one verse he says we blew in her, and then the other verse it says we blew in another surah. It says
mhm,
we blew in it. So it says
in it.
uh, in it. So it says and Miriam who kept her genital um, something like clean, or I don't know how to translate it, meaning that she never had sex.
Mm,
So
mm,
Miriam, who had kept her genital to herself, and we blew in her. And then in another verse, in another surah, we blew in it,
in it.
in it. Yeah,
Blew what?
life.
What did you
I,
blow?
I
Okay.
don't know. I really,
I
really,
I
I really
I
don't
would like
know.
to I would like to pivot a little bit here. And this is a subject that I find some people are quite uncomfortable talking about, and that is Muhammad himself. I recently came across the 16 privileges, is it 16? The privileges of Muhammad, right? The
Um,
privileges that only he is afforded.
hmm.
Do you know about those?
You mean his wives?
Muhammad is afforded 16 privileges. Hold on, let me see if I can find it.
I never
I think
heard of
there's
that before.
16 privileges of
He had some privileges. Of course, he had fifth of every um after a battle finishes, he will have fifth of everything they collect. It says fifth for
yes,
Muhammad
yes,
and
that's
for
one
others,
of them.
and
That's one of them.
he
Wait
had
a minute.
privilege of going above the women's or wives limit, and he has a privilege of even a woman comes to him and gives him herself without even
Yes.
marriage.
Mm-hmm. This is it here. This is it. Okay. Any believing woman who dedicate. Can you see? Can you see the? You can
Yeah,
see it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No. Before. Hold on. Let me see if we can do. Um. Should we make it dark or can you see it?
I can see it. Yeah.
Okay. It says any believing woman who dedicates herself to the prophet, if the prophet wishes to wed her,
Yes.
this only for thee and not for the other believers at large,
Yes.
only for Muhammad.
That's
As
right.
for
Yeah.
what was granted and made lawful by Allah to the Prophet, peace be upon him, there are 16 issues. First, to be fair with the spoils.
Mm.
Second, to forcefully take a fifth of a fifth of, or just a fifth of the spoils of war. So one fifth belongs to the Prophet.
Yeah.
Al Wisal, Demetrius, the fast or fasting. This usually refers to fasting or abstaining from food. What does that mean? He's allowed to fast or not fast?
I don't know where that comes from.
Al
Wisal, what
Wisal.
does al wisal? Um,
Okay.
maybe allowed to continue fasting, um,
Mm-hmm.
because we
Okay.
saw that gives me a feeling of continuation. So maybe he's
To
allowed
continue
to
fast
continue
or to
fasting
abstain.
or to abstain from food.
Oh,
No, to
abstain.
continue.
So while other people are fasting, he's abstaining.
No, while other people have started to break their fast,
Yes.
he can continue abstain from food.
Abstain from food. That means he will continue to fast.
Yeah,
Okay. Oh, wow.
I think I never heard this one before.
Okay, never mind. We can always go back and have
Yeah,
a look at it after.
yeah.
Number four, to take more than four women. Everyone else can have four women, right? If they can. What is the clause for the four women?
So if they can be fair with them, I'll get you the close. I get you the.
Okay, that's that one. The fifth is to marry yastanki, or to have
Yes,
sexual
thank you.
intercourse with
Yeah.
a woman who dedicates herself to the prophet. So this is not marriage now. Any woman who
Yeah,
dedicates herself to him, he can
yeah,
just
he's allowed.
plow.
Um,
Yikes.
eh,
Hey, get walking, Ian Davenport. Good to see you. Donald says that sounds like some Egyptian stuff. Your heart should be lighter than Matt's feather. Oh, that was when we were talking about the what was it earlier on?
so the
The
verse you were looking for is in Surah An-Nisa,
Surah
um,
Anissa.
An-Nisa, which means women, and that's
What
third
number?
three.
3?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and the
3?
verse, yeah, three, and no, the verse is three. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure which Nisa is in the beginning of the Mus'haf though. Maybe the
Anissa, right?
An-Nisa, yeah, maybe the
Surah
fourth or fifth.
Anissa verse 3. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's the
And
one.
if you fear, and if you fear that you will not deal justly with the orphan girls, orphan girls,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
Okay. So if you fear that you will not deal justly with the orphan girls, then marry those that please you of other women. Why wouldn't you be able to deal justly with orphan girls? They've lost everybody. What?
Um,
Huh?
oh, this was a case. There was orphans there, and the, there are horrible things. Um, so there are verses that the problem is the scholars twist the text to make Islam look good, but the Quran has some. I don't know what to say, but it actually there is a verse that says talks about young young girls being
Yeah.
being in the same.
I mean,
Yeah, like when you divorce a woman, you need to wait 3 months. She needs to wait 3 months before she remarries,
mhm,
and then it goes through uh, some cases, and one of those cases was that if the woman was not yet an adult, so she hadn't experienced period yet. So it says if that woman was this, you do that. If it was this, you do that. If she hadn't, or she hasn't reached maturity or adulthood, then you do that, which implies the fact that you are allowed to marry a young girl. Now, Muslim scholars find ways to get away with it, but I think that the text is clear.
It's
Um,
clear.
let me get you this one as well.
Okay. Hey, captive desk. Guys, I think at some point we need to start asking the question, um, why are people convinced that these are the words of a an impeccable, loving? Well, no, Allah is not loving. i've I've not seen anything that says Allah is loving. They talk about merciful, they talk about just, but loving is not one of the attributes of Allah, unless I didn't know about that. um Khalid, is Allah loving?
Um, Allah only loves those who are true believers in Him. That He doesn't. In fact, He calls the infidels His enemies, and He
Oh
says,
goodness.
He says, go to war against the enemy, your enemy, who is the God's enemy. So
Hmm?
He only loves the righteous. And the surah that I wanted to tell you about, it's
Mm-hmm.
surah number 65. It's number 65 and the verse
65.
4. And
65 4.
please have a think about this one, because this is
Okay. 65 4. I think I've heard of this one before. I think
65.
I've heard of this one
Surah
before.
At-Talaq. At-Talaq.
Ay, ay,
اسم
ay. Okay. Oh. And those who no longer expect menstruation among your women, and
Yeah,
if you doubt, then their period is 3 months. And
yeah,
also for those who have not menstruated. And for
exactly.
those who are pregnant, their term is until they give birth, and whoever fears Allah, He will make for him of his matter ease.
Exactly.
So,
He's
wait,
talking
hold
about
on.
these cases in the divorce. So he's talking,
Ah,
he says, if you divorce those who not menstruating anymore, you do that. And if they haven't menstruated yet, which means they are small kids.
oi,
Yeah.
oi, oi.
Did you, did you, could you read that again, please?
Okay. You know what? Hang on. Let me pull it up on the screen so that everyone can see it as well. Um, Quran 65 4. So that you know, you'll understand. So let's Surah 65 4. Go to Quran.com. Okay. Let me share this tab instead.
That's the one.
You guys can see it? Okay,
Yeah.
let me. Right. As for your women past the age of menstruation, in case you don't know, their waiting period is 3 months.
Before they remarry.
Right. So
Yeah.
the men should wait 3 months before.
The woman, the woman.
No, but the man has to wait 3 months. If he intends to marry this lady who has
Yeah.
been married before, they
Yeah.
have to wait three
Yeah,
months.
yeah. Any woman is divorced needs to wait because of there is if there is pregnancy. This was the only way to know that this woman was pregnant. So if you he says if you this is talking about divorce, not remarriage, but it says if you divorce those women who passed the age of menstruation,
Yeah.
in case you don't know whether they're pregnant or not, they need to wait 3 months to remarry. This woman cannot marry before 3 months. And those who have not menstruated as well. So those who have not
Those
menstruated
who
need to
have
wait three.
not menstruated, that means they are yet to menstruate.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
I
Now you
have heard I've
twist
heard
this text.
somebody try to twist this to say that this is talking about women that have uh um problems, right? This is a
Correct me
problem, and they're
here.
not
It says have not.
menstruate.
Now this is clear English grammar, and in
That's
Arabic
right.
it sounds the same. It says have not, which means they, as you rightly said, yet to
Yet to.
menstruate. Yet to. So this is not a medical condition, obviously. Otherwise, it would have used another word. And this is the translation of the exact Arabic meaning, which means exactly the same. In Arabic, it means exactly the same. Who have
Oh.
not menstruated yet. So
Have you seen that video by Mohammed Hijab? Is it Mohammed Hijab?
I
There's a
don't know.
video of Hijab. I think he was on Speaker's Corner
Okay.
when he was asked a question. And he said, yes, if you are reading the Quran on its own, yes, it does say that these are, yeah, the young girls. But you need the other sources to
Yeah.
help you
So
understand that
why
no,
is it a
this,
miracle then? Is it a miracle because no one can understand it? And then why do you twist that? Why wouldn't God just make it clearer and say, and those who have a medical condition, wouldn't that just be easy? Why would
mm,
it use that language? And then someone else comes and says, no, actually, it talks about. It doesn't make sense for me, to me, unless you're biased.
yeah, unless. Okay, yeah, Gearbox says yes. I brought this up before and argued this point earlier to a few callers. I'm sure I have, but probably been a while. And of course, they would deflect and they will, as much as possible, try to run away from the question. They never would answer the question directly. Never, never, ever. They want to run away from this. But it's funny how this is the words of the God up there. So the God up there wants us to have morals according to him. He wants us to be guided the way he wants it. And, this is how he wants things done. Now he sends down words from up there, sends an angel to come down and tell Prophet, look, tell the people, wait until the girls are women 3 months, and then the ones that have not yet menstruated take those. How is this the words of a God? I don't understand this. I'm really racking my head around it. And there are people that will, they swear by this, right? Khalid.
I was the same, Esther. I am not surprised. I was the same. I understand exactly the mentality. It's indoctrination. The funny thing is, those who indoctrinated me into this didn't really know much themselves. They had been indoctrinated by people who had less knowledge than them.
Hmm,
My parents have less knowledge than me, and chances are my offspring will have more knowledge than me.
mm,
Who am I to indoctrinate them? So no one actually knows. No one actually has seen anything, but yet it, the power of indoctrination when you are a child, you, it traps you into this kind of thinking, and then you can accept anything. You listen,
yes.
you accept that um, a camel comes out of a stone and or a mountain, and then you accept that there was a big ark that took all the animals, and you accept someone stayed in a whale for. You can accept anything, and you can accept that someone was actually virgin and had
You
a,
know,
you,
if
you,
they can convince you to believe that an angel came down and brought words over how many years? 20 something odd years?
um, yeah, about 20 years. Yeah, 20. It's about 25 years from the age of 40 to 63. 23 years.
So this angel,
But take two, because actually there is in the literature it says that the angel stopped coming for 2 years, and the Prophet Muhammad tried committing suicide. Then,
oh
which,
no,
yeah,
I've never heard of that. Wait,
yeah,
Prophet tried to commit suicide? I've never heard of that.
this is
Oh my. No, you don't say. Oh, I've never heard of that before. Why would he try to do that?
because he got really upset because
Why?
God left him alone.
For 2 years.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the
Oh,
funny thing.
The prophet tried to. Whoa! I never heard of this bit before. I'm so sorry. Oh, this is good information. You've heard of this Gewok? Oh, wow. You see, we talk about, Gewok put it here, that Muhammad is seen as a perfect example.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, so he tried to throw himself out of the, because it's not actually a Quran. It might not be translated, but this is hadith
we had
in the biggest book. It's called Al Bukhari. It's the biggest book for hadith,
the
and
most authentic.
yeah. So At-Tabari as well, which have a biography for Prophet Muhammad as well, said the same. The hypothesis is that because that coincided with, so when he so there was a, a Christian priest that was the cousin of Prophet Muhammad's wife,
Mm-hmm.
Al Sayyida Khadija had a cousin called Waraka.
Right.
And this Waraka is a very controversial um, character,
Character.
because when the Quran came down first time uh, on Prophet Muhammad, he was worshipping God his own way, or Abraham's way. We don't
Mm-hmm.
we don't know, but he was in a cave called Ghar Hira,
What
and
was he doing in the cave?
so he used to go in ice in
Isolate.
solitude for a
Okay.
number of days or a number of
Oh,
weeks,
okay.
and
Okay.
just he says, I worship God. His wife was a lot older than him, so
Ah.
I don't know why he was leaving her. Maybe, but they used to have a lot of big respect to each other. So when that happened, he came to her um, terrified, because he's seen an angel for the first time. So she took him
Mm-hmm.
to her cousin, because he was a Christian priest, and her cousin said to him, "What you've seen is from God, and you are a prophet." And you wonder why this Waraka did not um, convert to Islam. I that also a question. It's very hard to digest. Why would, if he knows that this is a prophet, why didn't he convert? He remained Christian, and the hypothesis is he
So,
was
Waraka was Christian,
yeah,
and Waraka was the uncle. Did you say the uncle of his wife?
cousin.
Cousin, sorry, the cousin of his wife. And so
Yeah,
when the first angel came down,
yeah.
he went to him to seek
She took
guidance.
him. She
She
took
took him
him
to go and
because
seek
he
guidance.
was terrified. So she took him
Right?
to, and she doesn't know whether it was a dream or he doesn't know. They're confused. So
Right.
he said, "What you saw was God, and this is the word of God that is coming to you."
Mm,
And the hypothesis is this committing suicide attempt has happened after Waraka has died. So the hypothesis is, well, actually Waraka, because Waraka was very knowledgeable about the Bible, and especially
right.
the Torah. He was from a denomination of Christianity who did not believe in the Trinity really.
Mm-hmm.
So and um, he was not in line with the Orthodox teaching. So what what the hypothesis says is that he was the one that telling him all this story about Moses and about Noah, and about these are all
Um,
from Waraka, because Muhammad wasn't very knowledgeable about the Bible. Waraka was, being a Christian. Muhammad wasn't a Christian. And the hypothesis is he wanted him to become the Messiah and to appeal to the Jews,
mm-hmm.
because the Jews are still waiting for the Messiah at this point. At that point, um,
Oh, shit.
Christians have got their Messiah, but
You're still
Jews,
waiting for the
Jews are
S.
still waiting. So
Wow.
that explains why he used to pray towards the Jerusalem in the beginning, um, and uh, and all the story about the Aqsa Mosque, which you wonder why there was a mosque in. before Islam. That word mosque in Arabic is masjid, and that comes from the word sujud. And sujud is what you do when you go on the floor within your prayer. When people go on the floor and put their heads on the floor while they're praying, that's sujud. And the word masjid is where in Arabic the word means is the place that you do the sujud at. So who was doing sujud before Islam to build something called masjid, mosque? There was no mosque in Jerusalem before Islam. So the fact that he was praying towards a mosque is a bit peculiar, which makes me think maybe it was the temple. And that's a hypothesis. That's not me coming up with something. That is a hypothesis out there. There are lots of wonderful scholars, contemporary scholars like Patricia Corona, for example, and somebody else. I can't remember his name, who's Lebanese, and but he's hiding his identity for safety reasons. Christopher something, I can't remember. But there are lots of scholars, contemporary scholars, talking about stuff like this. So that it makes sense. He was trying to appeal to the Jews and project himself as the Messiah, and praying towards the temple. And then when they rejected his claim, he started getting violent against them because they reject that. That's more logic than saying he was praying towards a mosque.
Hmm. It's funny, Khalid. A question for you. You know this information that you have. Did you have all this information when you were a practicing Muslim, or was it afterwards that you started digging to find out more? Because for myself, the knowledge I had of Christianity when I was a Christian was very basic, was really very basic, is what they tell you, or the version that you get from your pastor or your parent, right?
Yeah,
I know more about the religion as an atheist than when I was a Christian,
yeah,
right? So I don't know if that's the case for you, because some of these things that you're talking about, some of the Muslims that I do speak to have absolutely no knowledge of the things that you talk of. They've got no clue. They just, it's the Quran and the Quran only. They don't know a lot about Muhammad's life, how he guided his life and how he operated. Or if they do know, they don't care. They don't, they're not bothered. So what do you think? Do you know more about Islam since you started questioning or walking away, or did you know this information when you were a Muslim?
so I had it the hard way because there was no internet. Now the information is abundant out there, but when I
Mm,
was doing it, I was relying on books, and the books coming from Egypt, sent by being sent by my dad, that they are. So I was trying to choose the book a bit strategically. So I was trying to find out, for example, what happened exactly when the Muslims invaded other countries, because then you can get
right.
a sense. Because in the literature it says that Egypt opened doors, and they actually wanted Prophet Muhammad.
I'm
Sorry,
online. Sorry about that. Sorry, guys. My son just came in. Just
okay,
continue talking, Khalid.
sure, sure. So it says that Egypt actually opened doors to the invaders, or to what they call it, um, the Islamic era, anyway, the Islamic troops, that because they were fed up with the Roman uh, uh, ruling. But in fact, when you read history, you will find that there was a very usual response to someone is invading your country, and Egypt was struggling for hundreds of years, maybe 300 years, with lots of revolutions, trying to gain. Because when Islam comes to a country, it's either conversion or paying the jizya, which is like a tax, or die. So you have, and that's in the Quran, and that's how they did it when they invaded other countries. So then if and Egypt was all Christians, then there was no other religions in Egypt. They were all uh, Egypt was part of the Roman Empire, and they were Orthodox. So when Islam came, there was, so you start looking, you start reading about uh, the same books that you used to read, but then you have a different perspective now. Because, for example,
Shut the door. I'm sorry about that. I didn't know I'd turned my camera on his children. Sorry
that's okay.
about that.
That's
Sorry.
okay. That's okay. So you read the same stuff from a different perspective with a more open mind. For example, I will give you an example, and I'm picking my examples here because I'm deliberately picking things that you might not heard of, or uh, your followers never heard of,
Hmm,
but these
hmm.
are there. So in the literature it said that Muhammad had the sexual power of 40 men, 40, right? Uh,
Is that in the Hadith or in the Quran?
Hadith.
He has the sexual power of how many men?
40.
This is written in the Quran.
This is Hadith.
Sorry, in the Hadith.
Yeah,
That wait, we're flexing Muhammad's sexual prowess.
yeah.
Why would we be doing this?
And he used to sleep with his women in one night with only one wash. It's embarrassing.
One wash. What do you
I
mean one wash? What do you mean one
it's
wash?
So he doesn't wash after every sexual intercourse. He washes once, and I am not sure what the connotation of that is. But you see, when you're a Muslim, you hear this and you think, oh my God, Prophet Muhammad. You know, you never question it, you never critically analyze it. But when you go out and then you think, okay, so sleeping with all women with one wash at the end, that's very dirty. I wouldn't do that. If I have 13 wives, I wouldn't go 13 times anyway, unless I am uh, like, I don't know. But also, when you say the power of 40 people or 40 men, in terms of what? So you start thinking, having those filters in your brain. Is it more powerful in erection, or is it the length, or is it the thickness? What kind of power, what kind of 40 men? And why would you need 40 to be like as powerful as 40 men? It sounds like
Exactly.
it sounds a bit an unneeded piece of
Yeah,
information that
very
we know.
unnecessary that. And
But this is,
this was described about him after he was no longer with us, right?
yeah, yeah,
So, I guess this is the thing where when we're trying to create an image of somebody to make him look like he was, yes, he was human, but he had all these abilities that the ordinary person didn't have, right? And so I guess that's the image.
yeah,
Let me quickly finish reading the privileges that were given to Muhammad.
yeah, sure.
So the I think I stopped at the third or the fourth. Okay, the fourth. Yes, at the fourth, he can take more women than four women. He can marry, yes, and have intercourse with a woman who dedicates herself to the prophet. The sixth, he can marry or have sexual intercourse without the presence or permission of a legal guardian. Wait, when you say legal guardian, is that just for younger people or any Muslim woman? Do Muslim women need legal guardians?
No, Muslim women can get themselves married without any requirement of legal guard, unless the I think there is, yeah, there is a legal guide. There is a legal guide guardian in the tradition, and I don't know where this is coming from, because but I don't know what age. I think if she got married once,
Hmm.
she doesn't need a legal um, guardian, or
Guardian.
if maybe if she's older and she doesn't have a dad or a brother.
Hmm.
But other than that, if girls do have to have a guardian, yeah. But
Okay.
he's
Right.
obviously accepted,
So
exempted.
number 7, to marry without a dowry. Number 8, to marry and have intercourse during a state of ritual consecration and purification. Number 9, the annulment of an oath he made to his wives. So he can make an oath to his wives, but these privileges allow him to just, yeah, he can just break that oath whenever he pleases. Number 10, if Muhammad looks at a woman and desires her, this is in capital, by the way, then it is necessary for her husband to divorce her and for Muhammad to marry her.
So there is an
Oh,
interesting story behind this. I know why this is there, because there is
oh, oh.
there is an event happened.
Zaid,
So
story of Zaid.
exactly, well done.
Is that his,
Exactly. Son,
remind me, Zaid is
adopted son.
his adopted son.
Yeah, well
Please
done.
tell us the story. I've never really understood what this story is about. I've heard, oh, he took his adopted son's wife, but I didn't know what transpired.
What
Please tell
happened?
us.
So he had the adopted son, Zaid ibn al-Haritha, and um, I think he got him married to his cousin. So his Zaid's wife was related to Muhammad. Um, um, her name was Zainab bint Jahsh,
Mm-hmm.
and one day he was walking by her tent, and she was coming out. She was in the tent with no clothes on, so he
Mm-hmm.
saw her clothes. He saw her body, and he said something like, he praised God. He praised God for changing hearts as He will. So if God wants to you to change and start to love someone, He would. It's in that kind of context. He praised
Mm-hmm.
God for His ability to change someone's feelings. So she heard that. She heard him saying that, and she understood. So when her husband came back, she said, um, "Your father came, and I was not dressed properly, and he said that." So her husband understood. So he went to his dad, and he said, "Would you like me to leave her and you can marry her?" And he said, "No, keep your wife." And the Quran came down blaming Prophet Muhammad for that action. Uh, he said um, something like, "Why would you say to a man, keep your wife and hide your feelings? Hide what God made it obvious and visible." So he's blaming Prophet Muhammad for going against God's will in changing his feelings. So and then that and that's in the Quran. That's a verse. That's not hadith. Hadith is explaining what happened, but the but
Mm-hmm.
and then so he goes to his son, and he says, actually the Quran is saying blah blah blah. I think you gotta divorce her, and I'm gonna have to marry her, and so he did. um, and and um, building on that, he had to he had to this is why we adopting is not permitted in Islam, because he couldn't have married her while she is his son's wife, even adopted son, because that was against the traditions in the Arabic Peninsula. So he had to um, unpermit adoption. So
What?
before he married her, he said, in the Quran as well, it says, Don't adopt anymore." The verse is clear. So
It's
now he's
it's in
not
the
his son.
Quran.
Yeah,
You can't adopt it in the Quran.
yeah.
Can
It
you tell
said,
me where?
yeah. It doesn't
Oh my
say exactly
goodness.
you don't adopt, but that's
I
where
know,
he
I know.
is. You did you see it? Oh,
No, I mean, this is the first time I've heard this that you can't adopt
yeah.
in guys. I mean, just it's funny how things happen in Muhammad's life, and straight after a verse comes down.
Yeah. So
Why
this
so
is
convenient? Why so convenient? Huh?
Al Ahzab uh, 5. Al
What's
Ahzab.
that?
So Al
Which one?
Ahzab is
What number? Me, I don't know them. I know
you
them
don't
by
know
the
the name.
numbers.
There's
It's
lots of
easier for me.
yeah. It's number 33, 33.5.
33, 5. Let's
Yeah.
see. What does 33, 5 say? Wow. No adult. Just. Mm-mm. Okay. So 33, 5 says, call them by the name of their
Yeah.
fathers.
Yeah. Means don't change them. Don't
The
adopt them and call them
names.
your sons. That's how they got that um teaching.
Uh-huh. It says it's more than just in the sight of Allah. But if you don't know their fathers, then they are still your brothers in religion and those
Yeah.
entrusted to you. And there is no blame upon you for that in which you have erred, but only for what your hearts intended. And ever is Allah forgiving and merciful. The Prophet is more worthy of the believers than themselves. What? Did you hear
Uh,
that? Did you hear that,
uh,
Khalid?
which
Six.
verse is that?
Six
Oh, 6. I haven't seen 6. One moment.
says
Because
the prophet is more worthy of all the believers than they themselves.
let's see. النبي أولى بالمؤمنين من أنفسهم وأزواجه أمهاتهم. It says it's not I don't think the translation is right. It's like
Tell me what does
as if he knows about them more than themselves. He knows about them, and he has right um, he has right to their souls
oh
more
oh
than they have right to their own souls.
this
Um,
gives the explanation actually at the bottom says he is more worthy of their obedience and loyalty
yeah,
and is
yeah,
more concerned for them than they are for each other.
yeah. That sounds right. Yeah,
That sounds
that
right.
sounds right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I was about to panic there. Oh my.
But
Listen,
yeah, well,
anyway,
Prophet Muhammad is better than anyone else. Is more worthy. That I mean, God created the world because He loves Prophet Muhammad. It's just to give him life. This is, of course, Prophet Muhammad is
the
the
best of them all.
the best of all of the humanity. Of
Ay, ay,
course,
ay.
he's got a really good, really prominent position, which explains why a Muslim would would burn an embassy and
Hmm.
kill for cartoon, because Prophet Muhammad is something very precious, and protecting him is is a commitment for any Muslim, really. And then there are degrees of how you can commit to that. You can do it by hand, you can do it by mouth, you can do it at least by your heart, but you've got to at least in your heart condemn things like that. But if you can kill, you kill. Now they are trimming it down, so they say that that shouldn't happen by individuals in the society. That should happen by people who empower. They are the responsible ones for doing that, because otherwise the society. But in the past, it was very easy to kill someone that um, um,
That's
um,
done wrong,
has
as
said
that's
something
erred,
wrong. Yeah,
right,
yeah. I
against
mean,
the prophets.
there is a yeah, I'm sorry that that will sound horrible as well, but that's in the
Hmm.
literature, and people need to know these things. So there was
Yes.
there used to be that's in hadith. There used to be a, a, a poem, lady poem, and she was old. She was older lady, maybe 70 years or 80 years.
Hmm.
And when he went back to Mecca after he became powerful, he went back to Mecca, invaded Mecca. He got he got his soldiers to tie her in camels, each leg in one camel, and let the two camels go separate ways, opposite ways, and so she
What's
was
her name?
let Qirfa. Let me
I,
make sure that
oh my goodness. What did she do to deserve such treatment?
poetry. Um,
Is this the one that wrote satirical verses?
no,
Satire?
yeah, I think so. Uh,
Because okay, I don't know if you this is the book that someone recommended that I buy, which I started reading, and um it's called The Life of Muhammad by
by
Ibn Ishaq.
Ibn Hisham,
Ibn Ishaq.
Ibn
Well,
Ishaq. Okay, that's
Ibn Ishaq,
that.
as narrated by, hold on.
This book is this is very funny because it's Ibn Ishaq,
Is it
which
Ishaq? It's pronounced
is how do you
IBN, IBN,
yeah,
ISHAQ.
yeah, Ishaq, which is Isaac in
Ah,
Arabic for Isaac.
okay,
And
okay.
Ibn Ishaq,
Ishaq.
actually, the
No.
book of Ibn Ishaq was lost.
Mhm.
So this is where, if you remember in the beginning, I mentioned that we don't know the origins of this book. This is one of
Yes.
these dilemmas because actually what happened is that someone called Ibn Hisham said,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, by the way, this is my book about the biology of Prophet Muhammad. I got this from Ibn Ishaq, but I don't have the original book. The original book is lost. So what you're
Mm-hmm.
holding now is Ibn Hisham's take on Ibn Ishaq's original book. And I guess you will see the
Oh,
word Ibn Hisham somewhere because we don't have Ibn Ishaq's copy. You probably see it in
okay.
the first page that it's by Ibn Hisham, not Ibn Ishaq.
Oh wow. Now, hold on. Let's see. Um. Oh
Excuse me.
wow. It's
And
okay.
this was done this was done about 200 years after Prophet Muhammad died, and
200 years.
yeah, about 200 years in Abbasi era. So it's very uh, uncertain how they
Mm.
did you see Ibn Hisham?
No, I didn't. I don't see it. No, I don't see it
No,
anywhere. Well,
yeah,
I've not gone. I'm still at the introduction, so there's still a lot to read. But there was something here that says when they were in a truce was broken by the Meccans, and then the Quraysh attacked a tribe under Muslim protection. Muhammad marched on to Mecca and occupied the city with very little opposition. The prophet showed great magnanimity in dealing with his opponents, and only 4 people were put to death after the capture of the city, although one was a singing girl
yeah.
who had composed satirical verses about Muhammad.
Mm.
So,
As far as I know, that's probably Qirfa, the one that I mentioned, but I'm not sure.
Kafir. How do you
Yeah,
pronounce that?
I,
Kafir.
I would think let me try and find it.
Is that what Ibn stands for? Dean
Ibn,
says Ibn
Ibn
stands for the son of. Is that right?
say again, please, Esther. Sorry.
Just look at Dean's comment. Ibn,
Oh, Ibn means son
IBN,
of, yeah, yeah,
son of. Okay.
yeah.
So Ibn Isaac, that is the son of Isaac. Okay. I get it now. All right.
Ibn or
Interesting.
bin as well. So they use bin,
Bin.
and
Okay.
if there is a
Abu.
first name, they would use bin, like Osama bin Laden. Um, if there is
Ah,
no first name, they would say Ibn.
right. Oh, that's what they all Ibn stands for.
Yes.
Ah, interesting. Anyway, what I want to do is let's just quickly finish this privileges, and then we go back to you because this is about you and where you are now. What are you getting up to since leaving Islam? And what would your recommendations be to people who are, on the fence, struggling with um this is what my prophet did, but um I'm bound by the dictates of the book. I'm bound by my religion. I am compelled to believe these things. So yeah, let me quickly finish this and then we'll get back to, so the privileges. Now, one thing I want you all to notice, right? In all these privileges, um, number two talks about, no, number three, no, no, number four, right? To take women. Number five, you can have a woman who's dedicated to him. Number six, you can have sexual intercourse without the permission of a legal guardian. Number seven, to do with dowry, which is about the woman and taking her and all that. Number eight, to have intercourse during a state of ritual consecration, right? Number nine, the annulment of oath that he made to his wives. Number 10, if he looks at a woman, desires her, then it is necessary for her husband to divorce her, right? Ibn al Arabi says this is what the servant of the two holy mosques has also said, as was clear to the scholars from the story of Zaid, which also has this meaning. 11, that the Prophet released Safiya from her captured state, and he considered her release as dowry. You free the slave, but instead of them paying to you, right, her freedom is the dowry. Number 12.
He actually married
Sorry,
her. He married Safiya.
Safia.
Yeah, he married her actually. But in the same day, Safiya was a Jewish lady, and he invaded this Jewish tribe, killed her
Mm-hmm,
father and and her brother and her husband, and married
mm-hmm.
her. And he actually had sex with her on the same day. And they say that she had dreamt of Prophet Muhammad, and that was a big privilege for her. It was a dream for her to marry him while she's Jewish and she's got a husband. I don't know what kind of fidelity that is really.
No
It's
way.
beyond belief, but that's what they say. They say that that wasn't
Eh,
very emotionally bad for her because she hated her tribe
husband.
anyway. Yeah, she hated she dreamt of Prophet Muhammad, and that was big privilege for her. But if you wonder, then when you in a religion, yeah, you when you out of it, then you wonder, how did I digest that before?
It's a good question. I mean, oh gosh, wow. Okay, so he married Sophia. Number 12, to enter Mecca without being in a state of ritual purification. 13, to fight in Mecca. Number 14, he is not inherited by anyone at all. This
Yeah,
was mentioned in the oath of absolution. For when a man approaches death due to illness, most of his possessions are taken away, so that he does not have more than one third left for him. But the possession of the prophets remained for him, as is evidence in the verse of his inheritance and in Surat Miriam. Number 15, his marriage is still considered effective after death. Huh?
yeah.
What?
His wives were not allowed to remarry after he died. He prevented them of that completely because he
Oh
called them
my.
he called them the mother of believers. So anyone would marry him, even Aisha was his friend's daughter, and
Mhm.
she was 9 when he married her, and she's a young girl, but she's still a mother of all believers. So you can't marry your mother. So that, yeah, he I think it was
I
unfair.
mean, yes, because the next one, the final one says, if he divorces a woman, she remains prohibited to everyone and may not be married to someone else.
Yeah,
So
correct.
these 16 privileges given to the prophet seems to have um just sex and women as the main focus
Player.
here. Yes,
Yeah,
we're
but
not so much keen about doctrines. We're not so much keen about um the words of Allah, and but the focus
yeah,
on this particular thing I'm reading. Someone said to me, oh, this is they said this is not true. This is not um from authentic sources. This is from daif sources. So, okay, I
but
mean,
there's something
mm,
interesting now about the 16th one. I'm just thinking about it now. You
mm,
see, they consider that a privilege. So if I am a prophet and I am going to I go to my wives and say, look, after I die, I'm really sorry, but you can't marry,
Mm-hmm.
and and that would be considered privilege because it satisfies my urge against competition with other sexual um, mates.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it is considered a privilege. Where if you look at it from a humanistic point of view, you should be a bit ashamed if I'm a prophet and I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to die and leave all these women without a husband, I should be a bit ashamed. I wouldn't call it a privilege. I would say, I'm really sorry, but that's God's will. I'm really not really want that. I want you to have good life after I. That's what a good husband would say to his wife, wouldn't it? If you're a loving husband, you say, I want you to have a good life after I die. I'm really sorry, but God is preventing me. But you wouldn't call it a privilege. I mean, if I die and I'm married, I probably would not want to stop my wife of marrying another man because I'm dead. I don't feel or know anything, and then I'm probably on my deathbed. I've got illnesses, and what why would I think about jealousy now? It's but they call it privilege. They call it. You
I
see?
mean, considering the kind of the way that he died in the last moment of his life, he wasn't thinking about wife he has left behind or not left behind. I heard that he died a very painful death.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I
Well,
don't know.
literature says that they left him 3 days until his body was. I don't want to say the word, but his
It's
body.
okay.
i- uh, I just don't want to be disrespectful.
Decomposed. Decomposed.
Well, decomposed if he was buried, but he wasn't buried. They left him on in the house for 3 days, and the narrative says that because they started talking about who's going to become his successor. So there was lots of fighting and argument. Let's not say fight. There was no fights yet. The
Mm.
fights start after that between Ali, which we have why we have the Sunnah and the Shia. But then there was no fight, so there was argument. So his successor took power, and Ali, his cousin, was a bit unhappy about this, and he
Hmm.
remains unhappy until he dies, and then
Oh
it
wow.
ends horribly bad. So he did, and he did. And what they say is that he was poisoned, but it's a kind of like his birth story that his mother was 4 years pregnant in him when he was given birth. They say also he was poisoned um, way before his death by a Jewish woman that put this poison in a lamb, in a lamb, in a piece of lamb, or in a goat. Um, and then after that, the poison remained in his body and caused his death, which is unscientific. I if you have I don't know, maybe it is, I don't know, maybe there's some kind of poison that takes time, but it doesn't sound right to me. If you get poison, you die straight away. And
Hmm.
why would you buy a poison that would stay for a long time if you can just poison someone and he would die straight away? So,
Immediately, yeah. I mean, but Khalid,
and why would God allow that? Like, if God loves him and stuff like that, why would he allow him to
this
be
is a
die?
prophet. How
Exactly,
how
yeah.
old was he when he died? Do you
63.
know? He was
63.
63. Okay. I
So
guess
he
63 would have been a good age. I mean, right? Would you agree or?
yeah, yeah, he would. I mean, it's not too old, so he could have lived more. But he also lived a very unhealthy life, considering all these
Mm.
wives and with one wash. That's probably
You
what
call
did it.
that unhealthy? That's not unhealthy. That's very. I mean, can you imagine having the strength of 40 men? Oh.
With one wash, with one wash. I think that one wash is what did it. This is not
No,
very
but
healthy.
but but the women cannot go with anybody else. So he knows that he's the only one accessing these women. So yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
So
there
I
is a
don't
lot
think I don't
to
think the
say
women
about
had
it.
the right to go with anybody else. Did they?
Not his wives, but yeah, others did. Yeah, Oh yeah, women were just they can go and marry. There was a lot of marriage there that time, so they all
No, I
married
mean his
a lot.
wives. His
His
wives, the
wives, no,
one that
no,
he
no,
married.
no, no,
Once
no.
he's married to them, that's it. They
That's it.
cannot go with anybody else, can they?
Yeah, because they are the mothers of all believers. So how can you marry? And you're
Okay.
not allowed to marry women. A woman, a Muslim woman, is not allowed to marry anybody from any other religion. So she has to marry a Muslim, and she's the mother of them. So how can you marry your mother? That's that she earned. They earned this title, and that's a privilege. Um. So you can't. So you can't marry anybody.
Oh wow.
And Aisha, he died when Aisha was very young. He married Aisha maybe when he was 50. So maybe we're talking maybe 18 years when he died, according to when
Wow.
he married her. So
She's still a
18,
young girl.
very young girl. Yeah.
Mm-mm. So Khalid, how is there was a question that you were asked right earlier on, but I just want to ask you now that you're no longer a Muslim, how are you what's your worldview now? I know you say that you're an atheist, but how do you live life now? Your
So
morals, where your morals coming from now that you no longer identify with the Quran?
yeah, it's just as everybody else, I make my own morals. I actually I it's very hard to get rid of some of the Islam teachings or Islam or the spirit of Islam. For example, I've held this hatred towards Israel since I was very young, and it's
Hmm.
very hard to get rid of these feelings because you've been Egypt went to war 4 times with Israel, and when I was in Egypt, I hated Jews as well, not just Israel. I was well, we don't have the word anti-Semitic in Egypt. It's just the
Hmm.
whole society is anti-Semitic. There's no Jews there, maybe 50 Jews or something in the whole country out of 100 million, 110 million. So we really didn't like Jews at all. I'm not. I know I'm generalizing now. There are some Egyptians, of course, but very, very small minority that maybe they don't have a problem with Jews. I did, and most of all my friends, my family did. We couldn't stand the word Jew because we have an inherited hatred towards them. When I came here, I got rid of that, and I was fine because Jews are just normal. I still had a problem with the Jew, but who left his home and went to live in Israel because Israel is an occupier. Until this war, and I changed my views completely now. That's when I started to come out, and I just, yeah, I this is. I don't want to go on about this
It's
because
okay. It's
it's going to
okay.
be.
Because
It's not because of anything. It's just because of the time. Because
no,
the
it's
thought.
okay. I heard you once when we had a meeting, you talked about how heavy the war has been weighing on you.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so yeah, I can understand, and I
wonderful
wouldn't
things
want you
came out of
to.
it. No, no, I'm
Mm,
fine talking about it. It's just because it's basically, I'll be brief. I'm just conscious about the time. Being brief, what happened was I was very affected by the war, and I was very anti-Israel and think that they are occupiers. They should leave at
mm,
least Gaza Strip and the West Bank. And then by the time I started to look at videos and seeing how Jewish people too. They're actually not bad. Like they are not in Israel. Israeli people want peace. There are extremes,
mm.
but we have extremes as well on the other side.
Yes, yes.
We have a lot of Muslims.
Hamas.
There is lots of not even within the society. Not even we're not talking about movements or groups. We're talking about just
Mhm.
normal people. There are
Right?
a lot of extremes that don't like Jews, and there is a lot of Jews extremes that don't like Arabic people, and they say this is our land, we
Absolutely.
don't want the Arabs here. But most the Israeli society that I saw videos for, just normal people, they look like the people that you would meet in Sainsbury's and say hello, and they say we don't have a problem with Arabic people, we don't have a problem with Muslims, but I think now they should live together in one country, maybe in a federal state, the same like the United States of America, and they have the country for both nations, but they have different states. And this is the only solution because if they keep doing what they're doing right now, there will be another Hamas after 20 years and then after 50 years. This is never going to, because it's in the text. the text says that at some point
Mm-hmm.
the last Jew will be hiding behind a tree or a stone, and the tree or the stone will call the Muslim to come and kill. He would say, there is a Jew behind me, come and kill him. The tree will speak, or the stone. I know I
No.
sound crazy now, but that's not my fault. It's in the literature. So we have this belief that the Jews, we will destroy them as Muslims, right? Not me, but the Muslims, and
Yeah, I
that
get
a
that.
dream of any Muslim to see that point. I'm sorry I'm saying this, but it's the religion. I don't think on a personal level, I don't think my friends or family would actually hold a gun and kill any Jew, but that's in the core belief. We would love to see Hamas wins, and or I mean Muslims love to see Hamas wins and kill as many Jews as they could. I can't share that view now. My problem during the
No.
war is that I don't. What they chant doesn't resonate with me.
Right.
The demonstrators in London, that
Oh,
I
yes.
empathize with their cause, but I can't be with them because they have Islamic chantings. I can't be in that kind of atmosphere or environment. I can't go in a demonstration and says things against my values. And so I was here like thinking, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Like I
Mm.
obviously, yeah. So I
Very
was
conflicted, right?
it was very conflicted
You were very conflicted.
until I did I met a wonderful group of Jews writers and academics through Facebook, and we had a Zoom meeting. One of them is very famous, called I think Ilan Papa, a wonderful man, and
Hmm.
he wrote good books. They are all seculars. They work for Palestine. So the organization is called
Okay.
Jewish for Palestine, or Jewish Work for Palestine. Something like that. Really, really good people. And I started to
Oh,
understand more, and I formed a new belief. But the beauty of being a non-believer is that you have this flexibility, you have movement.
yes.
You're not contained in a pot that you can't go out of. You can go with your thoughts wherever you want. So I was able to quickly, in maybe 25 days, to reform my beliefs and get new belief that resonate more with my values than having two states, one Israeli and one Palestinian state, with the Gaza Strip here and the West Bank is there, and then there is maybe a subway between them. And then I thought, what is Palestine going to be? It's not going to be Singapore. Palestine is going to be, if they have a state, it's going to be a very poor country. It's going to be a failure. It's going to be undemocratic, and it's just going to be adding another failure to the world. Because at the moment, people who control it, either in the West Bank, they are actually uh, they are not the best people. They are not democrat. The West Bank is being controlled by Fatah for since it's since they gave them the West Bank, and Hamas is in Gaza since Hamas took over. So there is no democracy. It's not going to change. It's going to be like Egypt. It's going to be like Algeria. It's going to be like Tunisia. It's going to be like it. But actually, if Israel disappears, the world will know, because Israel does something to this world. Israel is an important country. They do Intel. Every computer has their products. They actually, the Intel motherboard is in an Israeli company. So Israel is important. And I thought, well, even if Egypt disappears, people will just miss the pyramids, but that there is nothing actually. Israel is an Israel. So I thought that's the solution that made me happy about this conflict, because otherwise I couldn't solve it. And then I joined the Atheism UK, and I started becoming a very active member, and that in itself was very therapeutic for me. And then I came out on podcasts, which I hadn't planned to do. I was not planning on coming out. So that was all very therapeutic to me. But I never struggled with anything in my life, no morals, dilemmas, nothing. I felt freer. I felt more love for science. I went to university again. So I started being more open-minded. My ability to hold the dialogue has improved, and I am able to reason more because you are true to
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're not listening to someone, and you're not convinced in your heart there is something wrong about what they say, but you can't go against it. You go against your heart and listen to that priest or that imam, where they all make money out of that. These people are not they are not righteous, really. They think maybe they are, but they make money out of that. That's their job. So when you align with your inner values, you really don't need the religion. The religion is actually a conflict. So when you are religious, you do things that are wrong from a religious perspective, but you have to do them because your body requirement, or you don't have means. So you do things that are not allowed, and then you are in a conflict. I can't stop stealing because I need the money, and but then God is, but then I have to because I can't feed my family, or I have to do this, or I have to. That all creates conflict. When you leave religions, you make your own values, and it's much better. My struggle at the end was because of the war, but before that there wasn't. But what happens is, as I said, because I allowed myself to have that flexibility, I was able to form new belief very quickly and come out of that with a wonderful group of people. I mean, the group of people that we belong to. I'm very happy, actually.
Yes, yes, and I'm proud to have met yourself. Guys, we are part of a Atheism UK, and we went for this. It was a very special event recently. There was um, Richard Dawkins and what's his
Lawrence
name?
Krauss.
Lawrence Krauss, right, at this event. And after then, there was a need to have like a local chapter of Atheism UK. And I was kind enough to
Be the boss.
put, I'm not the boss. I was kind enough to say, okay, I would, get people together. But let me tell you, I may have put my hand up to say, look, okay, I don't mind doing it. But the brains behind it all is him. You have you have taken that group and you have, just run with it. It seems as though everything you have wanted to do, everything that the way you have the way you are running this very small little group of atheists. I want to say that I'm very, very impressed. um and listen, my thoughts, guys. Khalid hasn't got a YouTube channel. How many of you would want to see more of Khalid on YouTube? How many would sign up if Khalid starts a YouTube channel? Go on, let's see. How many would do that? 'Cause I think, 'cause when we talk about Islam, not many people are confident to have their face out there. Ex-Muslims, I'm talking about ex-Muslims, because of course we know about the dangers of being vocal about it. But I think you are in a place where I think you haven't got those worries, right?
Right.
And so I feel that your voice very much needed. Guys, I think you write blogs, right? You do
Yeah.
blogging.
So I was asked to write a blog. So I said to the webmaster, I will write something, and then I thought, well, I will write my journey
Mm,
from Islam to atheism, and I wrote one chapter and I gave it to him, and he said, "What a brilliant idea! We want to see more." So
yes.
he gave me a column on Thursday. So I'm doing this, and then there are plans that by kindly by John and Stephen, that to turn these blogs into a book. So I've got the chapters here. I've done 5 chapters. They are at the moment on Atheism UK,
Atheism.
atheism.
Let's see if I can find
The
Atheism
link,
UK. So people, let's see
yeah.
Atheism.
And my name is Khaled Hamad. You can read chapter 1 and chapter 2 now, and
Let's see if we can
then
find it.
Thursday there will be chapter 3.
Blog.
um yeah, and hopefully that will be a book at some point. And the podcast idea is there. I was talking with John about that yesterday. So, and John actually
Ah, well, found it.
wants to help me with that, and appear with me, which is really great. I like John. We brainstorm each other. So yeah, that might come soon as well.
Okay, let's see if I can show this on Atheism UK. And yeah, this is breaking free from Islam between halal and haram. This is part 2, but just in case anyone's interested, yeah, that's it right there. I might to put the link to this um in the chat, so if anyone is interested, you can go have a look. But listen, I think that you would be listen, you'd be brilliant with a channel, just a place where you can just, just just share your thoughts. And the thing I like about you, Khalid, is you are not one of these ex-Muslims that wants to put Islam down, that wants to disparage Muslims, right? But you are being very, being very rational, and just having a look at what is good and what is not good. You will point out what is good about the text, and you will point out what you think is wrong and what is, not so good. So I think that your voice is like a bridge, like an in between. Not so much, going after these people and being so hateful, or, just putting them down, because, they're very protective. They're very protective
I
of
think
the
it's a
religion.
mistake as well. It's a mistake to attack Muslims because they are not all the same. And even as I said, the ones, the very extreme ones are they think they are righteous and they're going to heaven. It's a really bad situation.
Hmm.
Yeah, when you know you have a word of God to ask you to do that. Especially when you're young, I mean, we've heard that guy that killed a lot of people in Israel, and he was very proud, and he took selfie, or I don't know, WhatsApp to his family and said, I've heard him in Arabic, so I know firsthand that he did that. And that's, I understand where he's coming from. I can't really attack him, as horrible as it sounds, as monster of a person. I think that he is, but that's not his fault. Is the religion did that to him. And he
Yes,
knows if he dies, he will go to heaven and he will be with Prophet Muhammad. Leave the talk about the versions and 72 versions and all that. He's going to be with Prophet Muhammad, and being with Prophet Muhammad in heaven is a great privilege for anyone.
it
You
is. I
just
mean, that's the conviction.
yeah,
That's the conviction.
but that's
And
the
thank you for
top part.
subscribing, Cantius JR. So listen, AL says I'm all for more channels, more ex-Muslim channels. I don't think you can have too much ex-Muslims speaking up about Islam. You can't have too many. There can't be too much of them, right? Every voice is needed.
I agree.
Every voice is very much needed.
I agree.
And so, Khalid, now this is a proposition for you. And the proposition is, would you be willing to, come from time to time? Let's react to some content on Islam
Yeah, of course. It,
together.
it would be a pleasure. I enjoyed the conversation with you, and I enjoyed interacting with respectful followers. Of course, it would be my pleasure. Anytime. We're in touch all the time. Anytime, just let me know.
Oh wow, let's have a look here. Perhaps it is more relevant to set the scene for the reader by addressing the atmosphere in Egypt before the before the Islamic radicalism era we were witnessing in the Middle East at this moment. Oh wow, this I haven't read it, but leaving the boys only school environment to the university and mixing with the opposite sex was peculiar. Nonetheless, I immersed myself in the whole experience in that I started to neglect my beloved religion. This is when it started. Yes.
Yeah.
When you're mixed with the opposite sex,
God brings all the atheists in your path. That's what happened exactly.
in college, right?
I, d- unfortunately, I didn't have the full experience of interacting with the other sex because you're not allowed. By law. You can't. You can't go anywhere and have sex really. What I meant is you just talk to, because at school you are with boys only, and when you go to
Yes.
university there are girls. You can actually talk to girls. You can have a girl like that is your friend. You can joke with girls, but that's not the case in a boys only school. And we don't have we have very little schools that are mixed, because that's only in very very um, uh, only private schools which are really expensive. So we were not rich. My family wasn't rich to get me into a private school. So
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
so from boys only schools to the university where I can have two or three girls that can be my friends. Wow, it's great.
Mm.
There
Wow.
was no actually there was no sex wasn't involved at all.
Yeah.
But I did have alcohol with my friends when I was at you, because I stopped being religious by then. Excuse me. So I did have some alcohol with my friends in occasions. It was good
Okay.
time. The university. It was great time. I had fun. I
I
went to
can
festivals.
imagine. I can
Yeah, I had a
imagine.
lot of fun. Yeah.
So it looks like the consensus here is that people would watch your channel if you. I for one, I'd be number
Thank
one
you then.
subscriber.
Thank
I
you.
would,
Well,
you
thank you.
know, I would definitely be on there. And so, but guys, if you're interested to read more about Khalid's life, his experience, and walking away from the religion, I've put the link in the chat to the blogs, but it's on Atheism UK. Um, just in case you're looking for it. And in the future, if he does start up his channel, I will definitely be sure to let you all know about that. But Khalid will be back.
Definitely,
He
yeah.
will be
Yeah, it'll
back.
it's a pleasure,
In fact,
Esther.
sooner than you expect, he
Sure,
will be back.
sure. Let's
Can you
celebrate
guys?
Christmas here together in
We could do that. Can you guys hear my son in the? Can you hear him?
I didn't hear him then, no. Oh,
It,
yeah,
it
now,
it's
yeah.
the game. I don't know when they're playing this game. It's always something. But guys, thank you all so much. Yeah, Get says yes that they will subscribe and watch your channel.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you each and every. Thank you for this, Esther, and thank you for taking and sharing, talking and sharing. Thank you. I do
you. Pleasure.
appreciate. Oh, how we. You hear him? Oh goodness, I wonder what game he's playing. Oh wow. Oh, I hope I didn't miss much. Just oh, Hawiya, you'll have to go and have a look at the video. We were just bringing it to a close. Oh, Hawiya, but Hawiya, this has been wonderful. Our guest. Let me get this off here. So our very special guest, Khalid,
Thank you.
ex-Muslim, ex-Sunni Muslim, has made his way out. How many years now? About 10 years, you said, yes?
No, maybe 15 now. I would
15
say,
now.
yeah, I would say maybe 2006, 2007, something around that, when I fully appreciated that there isn't any other religion at all. I should just stop looking for religions.
Mm-hmm.
And I started looking for books by atheists, because I didn't know them yet. I
Mm.
just started to look for Richard Dawkins books and Christopher Hitchens and all the big
Yeah,
boys,
the big ones.
big boys. Yeah.
Uh, anyway, everyone, please do not forget to give the video a thumbs up and share the videos. And yeah, I'll be back again real soon, and Khalid will definitely be back. If you want to support the channel, I think the links are there. The what you call it, the super chat and membership. And I will try and get that back up and running. But for now, I just want to build up the channel, have more content, and let's see how we get on. But if you would like to yeah, to give something, please go ahead to just make sure to do that. And yeah, thank you all so much for listening to us. This has been really good because I don't really talk about Islam a lot, but I would like to talk about Islam a lot more, especially now that I've, started, you know, just taking my time to see what's Islam about, right? I've got three Qurans, Khalid, three,
Three,
and
three,
all free though, all free.
three
We
Quran.
went, yes,
Three.
I got three
Oh,
books, yeah,
three books.
three
They're all the
booklets.
same. There is no versions
No,
of the
no,
Quran.
not
Yeah.
three versions of Qurans,
Yeah.
but three booklets.
Yeah.
Because when you go to town and they preaching, and they give you a free
Free.
Quran.
Really.
They give it to you free. Yes,
Okay. I wouldn't
they
take it
gave my
myself.
son they gave my son one, and mine that I had, the first page had, this is it, the first page was ripped, right?
Oh,
The first
okay.
page ripped off. So yeah, I wanted a replacement for that. So I got a replacement, and they gave my son one. So my son says, Mom, take. So yeah, I've got three of them. So yeah.
I don't know how you. Yeah, but in English, I think it's easier to understand it in English. It's very difficult to understand in Arabic. But I think they when what happened is the person that the person that translated it knows the meaning, so he puts it straightforward in English. And
Right.
if you can imagine reading that in Shakespearean English, that's how it's written in Arabic. Because
Right.
Arabic is a very traditional language. So I think in English it will make more sense than if you read it in than if an Arabic person reads it.
Look at that. Jizya. Oh, Jizya money. Thank you, Postcard. The Postcard that
Jizya
says
money.
Jizya. Thank you for your Jizya payment, even though you don't have to pay Jizya. Huh? Even though you don't have to pay a tax. This is the
Islamic.
unbelievers tax.
Yeah.
Jizya. Everyone, you all take care of yourselves, and we'll see you very, very soon. We'll see you soon, soon, soon. Okay, bye, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Do you have a moment? And this very second, I know you feel the beat. Do you feel the rhythm all the way? Can you see